Commander Zexhai clicked his mandibles in contemplation as he reviewed the medical reports from the human delegation aboard the Celestial Harmony. The Galactic Council's newest members were fascinating specimens, bipedal mammals with surprisingly complex social structures, but their biological fragility concerned him greatly. "Look at these readings, Sub-Commander Krill." Zexhai gestured to the holographic display with one of his 4 chitinous arms. Their skin tears from simple contact with rough surfaces. Their bones fracture under minimal pressure. They require constant hydration and perish within mere days without sustenance. Krill's antennae twitched in agreement. "The humans appear to be one of the most delicate species we've encountered, Commander. Perhaps admitting them to the Council was premature. How can such fragile beings contribute to our military endeavors?" The Zephyrian commander had similar doubts. In his 3 centuries of service, he had witnessed the might of the crystalline vortex, who could withstand plasma fire, and the gaseous nebuloids, who reformed after being scattered across space. Humans seemed laughably vulnerable in comparison. Dr. Sarah Chen, the human expedition's lead scientist, worked quietly in the ship's botanical laboratory, unaware of the aliens' discussions about her species' supposed weakness. She was studying samples of Kepler 442b's exotic flora when the ship's alarm suddenly pierced the artificial atmosphere. "Critical alert. Atmospheric containment breach in Section 7. Toxic gas leak detected. All personnel evacuate immediately." The laboratory's lights shifted to emergency red as blast doors began sealing. Through the transparent aluminum windows, Sarah saw her research partner, Dr. Marcus Webb, stumbling in the adjacent chamber. The elderly xenobiologist had been cataloging spore samples when the breach occurred, and the toxic Kepler gas was already clouding his section. Marcus collapsed against a workstation, his breathing labored. The emergency doors were halfway closed, and the automated systems had detected the contamination. There would be no reopening them until the area was purged, a process that would take 20 minutes. Marcus didn't have 20 minutes. Sarah's mind raced through the options. The intercom crackled. "Dr. Chen, evacuate immediately. The contamination will spread to your section in approximately 90 seconds. She looked at her friend and colleague, a man who had mentored her through graduate school and stood by her during her divorce. Marcus had insisted she join this expedition when she doubted her qualifications. He was more than a research partner, he was family. Without hesitation, Sarah sprinted toward the emergency supply cabinet and grabbed a portable oxygen mask. The blast door was now 3/4 closed, with barely enough space for a human to squeeze through. "Dr. Chen, what are you doing?" came Krill's voice through the comm system. The Zephyrians had been monitoring all sections of the ship. "Something stupid," Sarah muttered, dropping to her belly and crawling under the descending blast door. The metal scraped against her back, tearing through her lab coat and drawing blood. The toxic atmosphere in Marcus's section immediately began burning her exposed skin. The Kepler gas was designed by evolution to deter alien intrusion. It caused excruciating pain to most oxygen-breathing species and was lethal in concentrated doses. Sarah's eyes streamed tears as the gas attacked her mucous membranes. Each breath felt like inhaling molten metal, but she pushed forward, crawling across the floor toward Marcus's unconscious form. Commander Zexhai watched in horrified fascination from the bridge monitors. "She's going to die," he whispered. "The human female has sealed her own fate." But Sarah didn't die. Despite the gas searing her lungs and the chemical burns spreading across her skin, she reached Marcus and managed to fit the oxygen mask over his face. Then, with strength that defied her slight frame, she began dragging his larger body toward the blast door. The door had nearly sealed completely, leaving only a gap of 10 centimeters. Sarah pushed Marcus through first, his unconscious body sliding under the metal barrier. Then, with her skin blistering and her vision blurring, she squeezed herself through the impossibly narrow space. Emergency medical teams rushed to their aid as Sarah collapsed in the corridor, her body convulsing from gas poisoning. But Marcus was breathing steadily, the oxygen mask having saved his life. Dr. Vexitar, the ship's chief medical officer, a being whose species could regenerate entire limbs, worked frantically to stabilize both humans. Remarkable, he muttered, in his native tongue. Her cellular damage should have incapacitated her within seconds. 3 days later, Sarah sat in the medical bay, her skin still tender from the chemical burns but healing rapidly. Marcus had recovered completely, thanks to her intervention. Commander HFY visited them personally, something unprecedented for a being of his rank speaking to newly admitted council species. Dr. Chen, he began, his translator struggling with concepts that had no equivalent in Zephyrian language. Our species has protocols for self-preservation. We calculate risk versus reward. We prioritize survival of the individual to ensure survival of the collective. Sarah looked up at the imposing insectoid commander, unsure where this conversation was leading. What you did contradicts all logical behavioral models. You had a 97.3% probability of death with only a 23% chance of saving your colleague. No rational being would accept those odds. Marcus isn't just a colleague, Sarah replied simply. He's my friend, and we don't abandon our friends. HFY's compound eyes studied her for a long moment. Perhaps we misjudged your species, Dr. Chen. We saw your physical fragility and assumed weakness. But we failed to account for something we've never encountered in our surveys of thousands of civilizations. Which is, your species appears to become stronger when protecting others. Your physical limitations become irrelevant when emotional bonds are threatened. This is not weakness, this is a power we do not possess. As the commander left the medical bay, he immediately sent a priority message to the Galactic Council. Request immediate reclassification of human species from fragile support personnel to elite guard candidates. Reason: previous assessment catastrophically incomplete. From that day forward, when alien species spoke of humans, they didn't mention their soft skin or breakable bones. They spoke of the species that runs toward danger, that grows stronger in the face of impossible odds, and that will walk through hell itself for those they call friend. The galaxy had learned its first lesson about humanity. Their greatest strength was never their bodies. It was their hearts.